Garu. So now I have the task of quickly introducing you the theme, and I have been assigned this task because our convener Shakuntala here had a domestic health issue today, and she couldn't manage. She will be joining us in the afternoon. It was a pressing issue, so I am doing the task on behalf of her. And so this idea came with awareness in action. The question in front of us was very simple. That's it. There is a lot of flood of information in the market about how do we think about our society and how do we make our lives meaningful. And see, there are experts and there are non-experts who keep participating in the public discourse, and everyone has things to say about what should happen to the future of our world. But in this process, if you look at what is happening, see, there were times prior to 90s where nations and the regional level, so you had control over market, you had regulatory systems, and you could really direct things the way that in which you could run. And today we have come into a point where it is almost not possible to talk about at local scale, because things are so interconnected at a global scale, whether it is smartphone or whether it is, any activity. See, our life is full of apps today, for everything. Even the vegetable vendors today, carry smartphones. This is the level at which the world has changed. And if you remember Cambridge Analytica scam that happened, so the technology is going to influence our behavior patterns. That is the level at which world is changing. Now the question is that there are people who are experts who actually take call on phenomena like globalization. Some have the position saying that globalization is a bad thing, and some have the position that globalization is a good thing. Now, obviously, it is very difficult to actually come to a conclusion saying whether it is a good or a bad thing. There are always great things about globalization, but the equally worse things about globalization. And there are different levels of impact of globalization which is there in our life. At an individual level, for example, there is gender issue. There is something that globalization has a huge impact on the gender issues. We don't know how to deal with this problem. So if you want to deal anything with economy, education, or everything, it has become so global today that we need to reflect on globalization at a very serious way. So one of the questions that we had is that, look, we have lived in the trajectory of globalization for about 25 years now, since 1991. India, and there is nobody who is out of this except North Korea. Even North Korea has some impact of the world because technology, they are part of it. So almost all the world is going in a particular way. Now we are not in a position to really assess and say what is good, what is bad about it. But something that we can start doing is that since it is an inevitable process and we are part of it, the question is how do we direct it in our world in a manner that the last person who is the end user is going to be benefited out of it. So today, if you come from this point of view, you can't be an ardent supporter of the free market, you can't be an ardent supporter of the regulatory framework. You need sometimes regulation, you need sometimes open trade. But you're unsure whether, is it like 10 years back there used to be debate, are you free market here or not? Now see, these questions have become irrelevant today. You don't talk in this language anymore. So therefore, how do we really reconceptualize and think about globalization in such a manner that certain few important aspects of human life can be thought about, keeping India as our future? And this is not about law. This is about policy framework. This is about attitude of the state to look at certain issues. It is about attitude of the governance. So these are the questions which are confronted us. So therefore, in this seminar, we are not interested in taking ideological positions of whether it is good or bad. Neither we are going to do a literature review of what has been said about it. There is a flood of information which is available. What we wanted to do is we wanted to pull in experts, come together. We have chosen 4 themes. One is economic development. Another one is on governance. There is a third one which is on climate change and health. And then 4th on education. We have just we thought that these are the most pressing issues that we need to. There are many more domains which are important. It is just a fact that as an organization, we are limited to do certain things. So we have chosen these 4 themes. And in this theme, what we are going to do is that we have kept this question in front of people. Look, there are a whole range of problems. But if you want to see this world in India, if you want to visualize India by 2040, assuming that globalization is an inevitable process, it is going to be there, which is the 50th year of globalization. Now, how do we see our world? Now, if we start working in this way, we can actually start working backward. What should we do? So you wanted to invest in manufacturing, it has ecological consequences. How do we deal with it in a sustainable manner? I mean, these are the questions that we wanted to really reflect upon and go further. And this, how do we deal with this necessary evil called globalization? Now, nobody is able to actually get out of it. So since it is there, let's go and try to think in a manner that we can direct it, transform it in a way that it is useful. And later we can get into the technical details of how ideological questions can be taken in, how to address them. All this can be taken later. But at a broad reflection is necessary. We thought it is very important to begin the journey. In that way we have started, we have called the expert. Awareness in Action is not an expert body on this matter. And neither we are interested in building an expert on this within the awareness core team. What we wanted to do is, there is huge expertise which is already sitting in our society. We wanted to actually get that expertise together, create some churning, and then take it to the people, I mean, who matter. So this is not about drafting a law. This is not writing about 2-page policy document, but this is about bringing an attitudinal shift. How states should think about some of this issue, how political class should think about it, how bureaucratic class should respond to certain issues. Because there is a very weird response. People does not know today. And they see there are, for example, issues like climate change. Some people are saying, see, these climate change ideologies have huge problem. But there are some people are raising genuine question. So we need to find out a trade-off in between what is genuine question and what is bogus there, and then actually work together as a group. And this is a broader ambition within which we have built this idea. So this is broadly about the theme, and this is the first in that series, which is about economic development, and we are going to have 4 sessions about it. One reflects about international trade and WTO, another session which is going to look at agriculture sector and how do we look at sustainability of agriculture sector, because globalization has entered our life in such a deeper manner. Villages have been reaching there. There are good things about it and there are equally worse things about it. So how do we think about it? And then there is the question of how do we transform this flood of technology in a manner that there is innovation and employment generation that is being created, because the change of technology is creating an employment crisis in the society. Specifically, if you look at the service sector today, the transformation that is happening, once upon a time which was a boom for Indian society in terms of revenue, today it is in crisis. So there are new kinds of jobs which are getting created, but we are unable to shift towards that because we don't have technological capacity which is being built. For example, we don't have artificial intelligence, Internet of Things. We don't have infrastructure to deal with this manpower. But it's going to be the future that we need to deal with. And in the similar way, we have to think about infrastructure and manufacturing. These are the very central. And one of the important thing is that we seem to be forgetting about this infrastructure and manufacturing in this flood of service sector and other stuff. So international finance actually is quite a flimsy thing. And if you don't have your own capital hold, you will have a lot of problems associated with it. So these are the broad themes on which we are going to reflect today. And there are various experts who are going to come and talk about it. And we hope that this process will continue with the seminar on governance, climate change and health, and education. These are the themes which are going to happen in next few months. And we wanted to actually club them together and communicate it to a lot of people in the form of a report. And there are a lot of qualified people who have come. There are capable people who have come. Hope all of you join your hands and continue this process. So with this introduction, we will mark the beginning of the seminar. I request the dignitaries to light the lamp and inaugurate the seminar.